Hey guys, Rashmi here, a student of GMC Nagpur, and today I'm gonna deal with one of the important topic of upper limb anatomy, that is axillary artery. We're gonna discuss it under four headings. First will be the introduction, next its relation, then branches, and lastly the clinical aspect. Beginning with this artery, it is the continuation of subclavian artery and itself continues as the brachial artery. It extends from the upper border of first rib to lower border of teres major muscle. Pectoralis minor muscle divides this artery in three parts, first being proximal to the muscle, second behind it, and third distal. Now, before approaching for the relations of every part of this artery, you must be oriented for two important things. Listen, you can't just remember things for a long time by random learning. You must have a proper orientation for every concept behind it. Now, to memorize all the relations of the three parts of this artery, you must be oriented to two important things. First will be the muscles that form the posterior axillary wall, and next will be the brachial plexus. Talking of the muscles, there are three, that is subscapularis, latissimus dorsi, and teres major. The three muscles form the posterior axillary wall. Coming to brachial plexus, now these are the roots, that is C5 to C8 and T1 spinal segments, and then they form the trunk, then the divisions, and here comes the point of interest, that is lateral, posterior and medial cords. Talking of the lateral cord, it gives three branches, mnemonic being the LML, lateral pectoral, musculocutaneous, and lateral root of median nerve. Posterior cord give five branches, mnemonic being ulnar, naming upper subscapular, lower subscapular, nerve to latissimus dorsi, axillary nerve, and the radial nerve. Medial cord again give five branches, mnemonic being M for U, and those are medial cutaneous nerve of arm, the same of forearm, medial pectoral nerve, medial root of median nerve, and the ulnar nerve. Now, let's see the relations. Firstly, the relations of the first part of axillary artery. Talking of the anterior relations, we have skin, then the superficial fascia, and here this fascia contain platysma and the supraclavicular nerves. Then we have deep fascia, the pectoralis major muscle, and the clavipectoral fascia with three structures piercing it, that is cephalic vein, acromiothoracic artery, and the lateral pectoral nerve. Then, in the posterior relation, we have the first intercostal space and the external intercostal muscle, then the first two digitations of serratus anterior muscle, and the nerve to serratus anterior. Now, in the posterior relation, we have one more thing, that is medial cord of brachial plexus along with its one branch, that is medial pectoral nerve. Now remember that this medial cord will move medially while talking of the relations of second part of this artery. So the three posterior relations include first intercostal space along with the external intercostal muscle, then the serratus anterior, first two digitations with the nerve supplying the serratus anterior, and lastly the medial cord with its one branch, that is medial pectoral nerve. Coming to the medial relation, we have one, that is axillary vein, and in the lateral relation we have lateral cord and the posterior cord. Going to the relations of the second part of axillary artery, anterior relations are similar, including skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia, pectoralis major muscle, and here comes the pectoralis minor also, because we know that this muscle, pectoralis minor, it divides the artery in three parts and itself covers the second part of this artery. Coming to the posterior relation, now recall the upper muscle forming the posterior axillary wall. It was subscapularis, so definitely it will come in the posterior relation of this artery. Along with this muscle, we have the posterior cord of brachial plexus. Coming to the medial relation, along with the axillary vein, here we have the medial cord of brachial plexus along with its one branch, that was medial pectoral nerve. Coming to the lateral relation, we have coracobrachialis muscle along with the lateral cord of brachial plexus. Going to the relations of third part of this artery, we're going to discuss it under two headings, that is upper part and the lower part. In the upper part, we have skin. In the anterior relation, skin, superficial fascia, deep fascia. This is same in the lower part also. Compare and contrast the both relations to memorize them. Now in the upper part, along with the skin and the superficial and deep fascia, the two additional anterior relation include pectoralis major muscle and the medial root of median nerve. Here you can see that medial cord has split into its branches. One being the medial root of median nerve comes in the anterior relation. Talking of the posterior relation, now firstly in the upper part we have subscapularis. In the lower part, the two muscles that were below in the posterior axillary wall, they form the posterior relation in the lower part, that were latissimus dorsi and teres major. In the upper part, along with the subscapularis, we have two branches of the posterior cord, that were axillary nerve and the radial nerve. In the lower part, we have only radial nerve. Medial relations are same in both upper and lower part. It's simple. Along with the axillary nerve, we have the three remaining branches of the medial cord, that are medial cutaneous nerve of forearm and arm and the ulnar nerve. Going to the lateral relation, we have coracobrachialis muscle common in both upper and the lower part. And now here we have the branches of the lateral cord. We told that lateral cord has three branches. The lateral root of median nerve, musculocutaneous nerve, the two branch here comes in the lateral relation, and one remaining was the lateral pectoral nerve. And you must know that this nerve supplies the pectoralis major muscle, hence it ends here. And the two remaining branches come in the lateral relation of this artery. Going to the lower part of this artery, the medial root and the lateral root of median nerve, they join to form the median nerve that comes in the lateral relation of the lower part of the third part of the axillary artery. So we are done with the relations. Coming to the branches of the axillary artery, there are six, namely superior, acromial and lateral thoracic, then subscapular, anterior and posterior circumflex humeral artery. Acromiothoracic artery, as immediately it arises, divides into four branches, A, P, C, D, that is acromial, pectoral, clavicular and deltoid branch. Let's see it in diagram. Here it is the subclavian artery that will then continue as the axillary artery, and here immediately one branch is given from the first part of this artery, that is superior thoracic artery. Again, here it is the acromiothoracic artery, the branch of the second part of the axillary artery. As soon as this artery emerges, it divides into four branches, one being the acromial branch that crosses the coracoid process, reach the acromial process where it ends by anastomosing there. Next is the pectoral branch. This is the pectoral branch that passes in between the two pectoral muscles supplying the same. Then we have the clavicular branch that runs superomedially to reach the acromioclavicular joint and it supplies that joint. Then we have the deltoid branch that runs in the deltopectoral groove. Next branch of the second part of this axillary artery is the lateral thoracic that runs along the lower border of the pectoralis minor muscle. Now, subscapular artery, branch of the third part of this artery, it continues downward descending, gives one branch, that is circumflex scapular artery, that passes through the upper triangular space of muscles in axilla and will wind around the lateral border of scapula to anastomose there. And the subscapular artery itself get continued as the thoracodorsal artery. Lastly, we have the anterior circumflex humeral artery that runs along the bicipital groove and ends by anastomosing with the posterior circumflex humeral around the surgical neck of the humerus. Now lastly, talking of the clinical aspect, in order to stop the bleeding in case of the damage of this artery, the artery must be compressed against the humerus in the lower part of the lateral axillary wall. Also in this part, that is lower part of the lateral axillary wall, the arterial pulsations can be felt. So this was all about the axillary artery. Thanks for watching.